Okay, the next one is Gemini. So Gemini is is motion and activity of the mind, but it's also being busy. It's being busy because if the talk is busy, if the mind is busy, if we're learning, if we're staying active, you get it? There's something about Gemini energy where we feel like we should be doing something. So it tends to be the multitasker. Gemini, the multitasker. Learning, communication skills, logic and cleverness, social ease, because it's the networker, it's the communicator. It likes to have ways in which it can go about within the community and fit in, but not so much to fit in as in I'm the odd man out and I need to fit in, but more about I just want to exchange ideas, right? And maybe it's more about exchange information because we're talking Gemini. And sometimes it can be gossipy. So sometimes it can be exchanging information about people and others. But it can also be very business minded because it's keeping track of things. It's the observer. It's kind of like the reporter. So it sees what's going on and it makes a note of it somewhere, right? And many times it'll then turn around and share it back out. So Gemini energy is our blogger and now our vlogger. And then of course our we make short form videos now and long form videos and yeah, right. We all have got social tons of social media sites now, right? So it's a very busy uh, kind of energy because the mind is busy. It likes to learn, it likes to keep track, and it's the scribe. So I can be writing about things. It's the person who writes the books, right? It's the person who writes. So it's the social ease in terms of this is what's going on within my local community, the post office, the different stores, the different shops, my neighbors, the schools, grade schools, coworkers, if I'm at the job. It's even sibling energy, right? Because it's Gemini energy. So it's peers, right? And typically it's going to be positive daily interactions, right? Your day to day routines, right? Remember, your local community. And positive meaning we're more logical. We're not about being in our feelings. So when we're not so much in our feelings, it's almost like we can talk about things in a matter of fact way. So it kind of has a lighter, more airier feeling to it. It's Gemini, it's an air sign. It can be about calming mental anxiety because we're looking for a new moon wish here. So the one of the focus can be about how do I calm my mental anxiety because the mind, it's a busy beast in Gemini. So one of the new moon wishes, how do I calm the mind? How do I calm the anxiety of my mind? I'm always wondering, I'm always worrying. I'm like, but this could go wrong and that could go wrong, right? Calming that. So local short trips. So we think of automobiles, and this would include the mechanics, right? Because we think of people who work on the automobiles, but we think of the businesses, right? So we think of the dealerships and the pet boys and the whatever your uh, I'm thinking of Tuffy cars, and there's tons of different shops. Put some in the comments below if you have places. I'm sure everyone has different places in their local community where they can work on cars, other than your next door neighbor and your backyard mechanic, right? So short trips within that neighborhood, right? And so that includes transportation, but it can be the Uber, the Lyft, right? It can be, man, nowadays this is going to include the, what did I say in the other video? The VTOL, which is the vertical lift vehicles, right? That will take us to the airport. Literally, it's like a helicopter is what it is, but it's all electric and um, it uh, it looks slightly different. And yeah, helicopter is a vertical lift, so it's up and down like that. And the idea is that I think one day that may be closer to what our idea of what our car would be like. Like we're not literally gonna be in a car, we'll be in the air. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? We will see. But I would like to hear your thoughts about it. So, short trips and transportation, but not necessarily mass transportation. We don't think of group energy when we talk about Gemini. We talk about I'm taking an Uber and I might be taking an Uber with a friend or just myself. So there's just a couple of us, right? Mass transportation is more Aquarius, where it's like we're on a bus or a plane or a train. You see? So Gemini is the first air sign in the zodiac. So keep that in mind. If it's the first sign, we're not on mass transportation yet, right? Like the airplane wasn't invented yet, Gemini energy. The airplane was Aquarius. Yeah, you see the evolution of the zodiac and the air signs? Yeah. So the Gemini energy, as I was about to read the word excitability, I hear the birds outside. Gemini definitely rules birds. It rules flight, and we think of the winged beings. And the birds just, as soon as I went to read excitability, because it sounds like spring out there. Yeah, interesting. Another one for Gemini, learning. We mentioned that. School teachers, but being the student in school. And so classmates, going to school, classmates, learning. But this can be online learning too. It also says factual information. So this means this was the day of the old school reporter, which was the on the scene reporter, which was he wasn't giving you a, a commentary. He was literally just reporting the facts. Does anybody know what that looks like anymore? I mean, that's so I don't think anybody does anybody report the facts anymore? The closest I think I can come to it is NPR because I said NPR. Did I mean to say NPR? I meant I meant ah I'm drawing a blank. Associated Press. Associated Press. Um they're all about showing up, putting the camera on. Sometimes they'll put the camera on. Actually, most of their videos, they'll put a camera on and you won't hear any voices at all. You hear no voices. They simply just put the camera on and it's for you to watch. And you're like, okay, so what is this? Well, that's for you to figure out. They're showing you what's going on. You see, factual. I'm just showing you what's going on. And back in the day for newscasters used to just sit there and say, okay, on this day at this time, this happened. And they wouldn't have a commentary about it. They wouldn't have an editorial piece. They wouldn't have a response. They just told you what was going on. So factual information, formal education, print media, newspapers, print media, books, print media, the internet, the internet, curiosity, the cat, right? The curiosity, um, writing and speaking, sales, right? Speaking, sales, effective listening and teaching. Wow, that's a skill that we have lost in the Gemini energy. Effective listening and teaching, mental rapport, understanding different opinions, which means we would have to be open. We would have to be open minded. And usually it seems like when we're listening, we're not always listening to consider what someone's telling us. It's almost like we're listening just so that we can counter, right? Just so we can debate what they're saying or completely not listen to them at all, just ignore them, or let them say what they have to say just so that we can react, just so that we can respond. Like I could care less what they just said. Here's what I have to say about that. Right? So effective listening. Interesting. Mental rapport and understanding different opinions. It says understanding different opinions. How about awareness of options? Oh, yes. Gemini energy, Mercury the ruler, it wants its options. We think of my prerogative. Remember that song back in the day, My Prerogative? I want the option to change my damn mind. If I say I'm going to do something, well, that I'm not like signing it in blood. I have the option to back out. Like I can change my mind, right? Things happen. Life is not stagnant, right? And Gemini is really flexible in that way. So it's great flexibility, mental gymnastics. Yeah, absolutely. It and definitely just mental action for sure. The mind constantly busy. Cleverness, it can be slick, it can be clever, and it might not necessarily be doing it to be deceiving and to be a deceptive liar, but it can go there because at the opposite energy of Gemini is Sagittarius, and I'm not calling Sagittarius as liars. I'm just aware that Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And so whatever planet is at the opposite end, that energy can swing and go that way sometimes. And sometimes Jupiter can be like the rose-colored glasses. And what that means is we don't see real clearly. And so whatever it is we're talking about or sharing, um, if we have our rose-colored glasses on, then there might be something that we're saying. And at that moment in our brain, we're not aware that when we have said it, we don't we're not really fully aware of how it was heard, how it was received. You see? Because I've got caught in this many times. Many times. It was actually me and 2 other friends one time. This was like, shit, I don't know, over 10 years ago. Yeah, this was like 15 years ago. And we're sitting around talking, and we had said we were, like, saying goodbye to each other, like, we were going home. I don't know, we met at a coffee shop or something, and so we were all going our separate ways, and so they were like, "Hey, when do you guys wanna do this again?" And I was saying something like, "My schedule for, like, the next couple of months is really packed." I forget what I was doing, but my schedule was really packed. I had a lot going on, and instead of saying that, I said something like, "Well, I'm not gonna be available. I have these other things I have to do, and I'm gonna be focusing on that, and so I won't be able to do anything." And I'm pretty sure it wasn't that. I'm pretty sure I said it some other way. And I totally did not for it to sound like, well, I'm never doing this ever again with you 2. I'm never meeting having I'm never coming for lunch ever again. But they both at that moment, after I said what I said, whatever it was that I said, they both were kind of silent. And I was like, "What's going on? Like, what just happened?" And my one friend said, "You just said that you're never gonna meet with us ever again for lunch." And I was like, "No, I didn't say that." And the other friend said, "You did. You just said that." And I said, "That's not what I meant to say. It must have come out wrong. I honestly can't even remember what the hell I said exactly, but that's not what I meant. I just am trying to say that my schedule's really, really packed. I have all this other crap I have to do, and I don't know when I can commit to come together for lunch the next time." Now, mind you, where we were coming together for lunch was about like a 6-hour drive from where I lived at the time. So it wasn't like we were just driving down the street to meet each other type of thing. It wasn't like that easy of a thing. So in my mind at that time, I was thinking I have to block out my whole weekend to do stuff like this, which was what we all did. We all kind of had blocked out the weekend and we just kind of had like a girls' weekend type thing, and we did a little adventure and we went to some artsy stuff and we had anyway, it was nice. And it was just a girl thing, so it was fun. And it was very relaxed, and I actually missed those days, right? It was very relaxed and it was very metaphysical. We were doing like readings for each other and like, lighting it was just really cool, right? And so it was freaking one of the best moments of my life, actually. It really was. And because it was during that time. Anyway, I'm getting a little wordy here, but I'll stop. So my point is Jupiter energy, Sagittarius energy, being at the opposite of Gemini energy when we're talking, and what I just described, socializing with my friends, just kind of chilling and hanging out and talking, and just yeah, talking and networking, going to the stores and shopping, whatever. And that's what we did. We went to some local business where some medium was presenting and giving readings for people that you didn't even have to walk up to the room. Like they would just start shooting out messages. And the guy, anyway, was a really interesting person at the time who was doing readings. It was very different and unique too. It was a different style altogether. And so anyhow, it was a very strong Gemini feel to it, right? We were visiting the local businesses and just chatting and talking. So it was nice. And I got caught. I basically got caught where somehow there was a crossover in my brain, from my brain and from when the words came out of my mouth, there was a disconnect in what I wanted to say, what I was trying to communicate across to them, and from what actually came out of my mouth. And so that's just a long-winded example to explain to explain the Gemini energy and how it can seem like it's being clever or even blunt and maybe a little over detached and maybe a little non-caring, right? Remember I said in the beginning it can be like optimistic or even positive because it's not emotional. And so yeah, I think in that moment I was just kind of like trying to be factual about this and this and this is going to be going on. I don't know when I can do this again type of thing. Anyway, so then the next one for Gemini, tact, being tactful in the way that you express. And that's apparently my tact was not existing at that point in time. Acceptance, quick thinking, enjoying the moment, wittiness, having a sociable nature. That was the word I was looking for, sociable. And that's what we were doing. We were socializing. We were just talking and socializing. And that's what we've done now. We use the internet to socialize, social media, right? Brothers and sisters, neighbors, schoolmates, roommates. I already mentioned all that. Yep, already said it all. Roommates, housemates, coworkers, people you live with, bunk, whatever. I was going to say bunkmates. Excessive questioning, Gemini energy. Excessive questioning, trickery with words. Okay, maybe I was going ahead. Trickery with words. I wasn't trying to be tricky, though. I promise. Superficiality, meaning a little false because we're not talking about anything meaningful. It's really just busy conversation, having conversations, talking about everything, but yet discuss nothing. Gemini energy. Nervousness, indecision. Hands, wrists, arms, and shoulders. Gemini energy. I know a person who was a Gemini on the ascendant, um, and she had broken her wrists and had some carpal tunnel and had some other issues because she had Saturn. Or what was it that was going on at that time? Daphne, where are you? Remind me. So yeah. Okay, hay fever, breathing and the lungs, Gemini energy, the nervous system, Gemini energy. Okay. So all these things are Gemini, all right? And this is at 51 minutes, so we're going to end with Cancer, and then we'll pick up on the next video.